Hi, team. Welcome to the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Coming up, how to make 1,000,000 credits and not get banned. But first, a couple bits of SWTOR news, and a shout out to our guild on Alea Iacta Est on Jedi Covenant. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 121. What's up, 121? You say I'm greedy? Well, let me tell you something. Greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit. Now get in the pod. With me, as always, is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
Hey Max, it's going really well. I've been really enjoying my Christmas shopping this year, which I never ever enjoy. And the reason is because I decided to give all my family and friends who are readers, give them books. And so I've been reading articles about books and reading books and trying to pick, the book for each person, and it's been really awesome. And I have a long drive coming up this weekend, and I'm going to preview some of those books I've chosen just to make sure they're the right choice. So I'm looking forward to that. And the other thing that's great about books is that anyone who reads their books on Kindles or Nooks or their iPads or whatever, you can totally order the book even on Christmas Day,
Mm-hmm.
and it would get delivered to them whenever you wanted to because it's just delivered via an email. So you could even order it now and say, I want it delivered at, on the 25th or the 24th or whatever. So
Good
I don't
point.
know. I think I'm onto something here. So I'm excited about that.
Brilliant.
In SWTOR land, I've been opsing it up with our normal ops team, the one that you and I are both on. And I also got to run with Soldiers of Light tonight, which is cool. I get to play my scoundrel. Plus, that is a cool group of people playing on that team. It's always fun. And we did a little bit of Gree, but Xeno is now Xeno Bolster. But I guess that is intended. I don't know that it's a bug. I think maybe it's intended. I'm not sure though.
Yeah.
And then I've been spending some time doing planetary heroics, which I don't know why, but I like doing that. I don't know, because it's a long list of things and you make progress against it. I don't know. It's rewarding. So I've been doing that. How about you, Max?
Some of the same stuff. I get the deal with the heroics. I don't I've always hated dailies. I think it's because
Yeah,
it's not just credits that's the reward. It's also those boxes, and they're really well organized, and you're able to travel to them quickly so you can go through a bunch of them. Those supply crates are interesting to me because it feels like profit, because you get the box
yeah.
and it's got a gift in it, and you get influence with your commanders in your base, and that feels like a big enough deal where I like doing it. And then I end up with a bunch of credits too. Okay, well that
Right.
sounds good. So I've been
That's
doing
right. I
a
mean, I
little
think
of
that
that.
that is a big part of it, the fact that I can just click on the next one and start right up again if I want to.
Right, exactly.
I really like that aspect of it.
Heroic transport. So I've been doing some of that. I've still been doing some PvP on my Merc again this week. I didn't get too much in. I was going to try to do all my conquest points with PvP, but I didn't get to it. I was in and out all weekend, and we had that little hiccup with the servers, which we'll talk about. So I did not hit my conquest target, but I don't mind doing it on my mercenary. It's still fun. Also did a little bit of the Gree event. We had our fun night. We did not finish Xeno though because of that lack of bolster. We thought it would still be bolstered. I don't think I think it is by design in if you consider we don't have the time or desire to bother to update the bolster being by design.
Hmm.
I don't think it's a
Yeah.
bug. I think it's they didn't bother to do it or get around to it, which I think is a little bit of a miss with those two layer bosses with Xeno and with the Eyeless. I really wish they would
It's
have.
certainly a miss for us because yeah, we enjoyed doing that with whoever.
Yeah, it really worked well when it was bolstered, at least for the story mode. And then, yes, we have our ops team continuing to crank along. And I recommend this for any ops team. We've figured out where people are going to be the next couple of weeks, especially as things get crazy over the holidays. Who's going to be on what days? What can we run? What can't we run? And we did a reset, just figuring where are we at in wanting to do hard modes versus do the the highlighted hard mode for the week versus try anything else, and everybody's sort of come to a consensus. I recommend to anyone on an ops team just from time to time do a checkpoint on everyone's objectives and what they're having fun with and what you guys want to do moving forward. It's good to refresh as far as that goes. But with that, I think we can talk a little bit about the news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So as I mentioned, there were some servers that were having problems over the weekend. Harbinger went down, I think, on Saturday. Progenitor needed to be restarted on Saturday or Sunday, and Jedi Covenant needed to be restarted on Sunday. There was definitely notes in the dev tracker that said that Harbinger experienced somewhat of a rollback. I also had secondhand reports that Jedi Covenant on Sunday experienced a few hour rollback. I only had secondhand reports, though, that was the case. I didn't talk directly to anyone directly. I don't think I did. The people that were telling me there was a rollback, I don't know if they experienced it directly or not. So I haven't confirmed that, but rollbacks at all are quite annoying, and we would hope that they won't happen in the future. So we'll keep an eye out for that.
Also in the news this week, you might have heard news about an exploit and actions that BioWare is taking in the wake of that exploit, and they actually went forward with suspensions, some bans, and they're investigating connected accounts, not only alt accounts that people who exploited made in terms to, in an attempt to exploit more, but also if they sent credits to friends or whatever on an attempt to hide the credits, which
launder their ill-gotten gains.
Right. And then we've had reports that what they're saying is they're going to, remove the credits they earn this way, the credits they gain this way, items they gain this way, influence that they gain this way, and any type of currencies they earn this way, as a penalty, but also just as reset, to the point where before.
And what I had heard was
did the exploit.
Not only the credits and influence that they gained this way, but all credits and influence across all of their characters.
I read on Reddit someone was saying that they took all their credits, but I don't know. I guess we won't know specific.
Again, that's another one. It's all secondhand. I don't know of anyone personally that got any sort of action or suspension or anything whatsoever. Which is good because that's sort of a guild rule of ours. I hope I don't hear about people violating the terms of service. We would not want to hear that kind of thing. Also, we did hear a little note in Dev Tracker that, and here's the quote, "We are actively working on a new war zone and we are looking to start revealing details in February, subject to blah, 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 blah." Good. Sounds good. That was positive. That in and of itself, just to say that they are working on one in some way, was very nice to hear. I was still a little frustrated that it's so far off and we're only going to start hearing about it in February. I mean, technically we're hearing about it now. I don't know why they can't let us hear some about it now. And so we're hearing about when we're going to hear about when we're going to hear when we're going to get it. Regardless, wow. That was interesting. It's good to hear that something is in the works. The flip side of that is we did not hear, and conspicuous by its absence, they did not say, and we're also working on an operation, we'll start revealing details about that in, 2019. Now, I don't think that means that they aren't necessarily thinking about an operation or working on an operation. There are things going on in the development of Knights of the Fallen Empire that are new systems. And we got the first one when chapters 1 through 9 dropped, which was the Alliance system and your Odessan base and your Odessan commanders. We didn't expect that. It's more than just the story. It's a little bit of MMO content. You can level up your commanders, and there's not a lot that they do, but it does apply, and the Star Fortress interacts with them, etc. In the developer live stream, we also heard that there's a new little system coming in Chapter 10, which has to do with sort of a fight arena on Zakul, and you fight these bosses that are increasing difficulty, and you see how far you get. Okay, well, this sounds like they're developing these little bits of repeatable MMO system content. An operation could be a chunk of that at some point in the future, and they may not be wanting to talk about it because it is sort of part of the story and things that sort of ties in closely, and they don't want anything to leak on it. I would love it if that's the case. I'm setting my expectations appropriately that may not be the case, but I think because they have, so far they have a couple of those things coming out, there could be more of that kind of thing going on behind the scenes. So I won't get too disappointed yet that we didn't hear that they're working on any PvE MMO bits directly, because we do see little things like this already coming out. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thought on it too. It kind of makes me think of when people were asking, begging to know if they were going to lose their companions or not, and the answers came back so vague. It was because of this whole influence system that they weren't talking about. So we'll see. Event schedule continues next week, or actually tomorrow. Today, if you're getting this on Tuesday, the Recco event will start again. After that, the following week, starting December 22nd, Bounty Contract Week again. And the reason these are interesting is because you can get the currencies from these to buy stuff from the vendors in the cartel bazaar. So don't forget about that. Also announced this week, there's going to be a 4th anniversary thing on December 8th to January 5th. Life Day is coming back from December 15th to January 5th. And then there's going to be a double XP time from December 18th to January 1st. So that's a thing.
That's a thing. Double XP for all the people that need XP.
Yeah.
We also had some community news. The Galactic Gamers Coalition podcast, for people that don't know, is a monthly podcast that where a bunch of the SWTOR podcasters get together, and various different podcasters group up, and it shifts.
Chew the fat. Shifts
each month, different hosts, different guests, and I was the guest this month with Fred and Lou from Star Wars Beyond hosting, and Tio is on from MutiniCast, and Chuck from Bad Feeling Podcast. And yeah, good times. Mostly it's just what are all the current news items in SWTOR and what do we think of them. So we did talk about the exploit, we talked about content roadmap, we talked about the pace of content, and we all gave our thoughts on that. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be published. What's that?
Yeah, I can't wait till it gets published because I want to listen to it.
Yeah, and it's always fun. It's always fun just to catch up with a bunch of the podcasters, because everyone is up to speed and everyone has opinions and has been talking about it. So never a dull moment.
Yes.
Also wanted to give a shout out to our guild and let everyone know that we're always looking for new members, and we are on Jedi Covenant. Our parent guild, our overarching guild community, is Alea Iacta Est, and it's one of those big, family-friendly, multi-game guilds. We have a solid guild in Star Wars The Old Republic on both the Republic and Imperial sides. We also have guilds in a whole bunch of other MMOs and are branching out into a bunch of games. Our guild info can be found on aie-guild.org, and you can catch the officers in SWTOR with a /cjoin AIE LFO on Jedi Covenant. And also wanted to give a shout out to the chat room. We've been chatting it up with people both before the podcast, and I love doing it after as well. Got some notes going back and forth already this evening that helped us put a couple things straight. So, hey guys, thanks for joining, and I will catch up with you after the podcast ends. But with that, we can get into the main topic of the night on making credits.
The illustrious Jabba bids you welcome and will gladly pay you the reward of 25,000.
You know.
50,000, no less.
That's how you make credits. First, You capture Chewbacca. Then you sell Chewbacca to Jabba the Hutt, and you make a bunch of credits. Wasn't very many credits, though, now that I think about it. There's 25,000 bounty on Chewbacca. 25,000 credits, man. I wouldn't even bother. And she counters with 50. Sorry, spoiler. It was Princess Leia inside the bounty hunter costume. I spoiled it.
Spoilers from the 70s.
Yes. But we did want to talk about making credits in general. And I was going to give this some sort of cheeky title, like how to make credits with this one strange tip. Top 10 ways of making credits you won't believe, number 3. But I decided to go with just making credits. I was even going to give it some other clever name, but I'll at least take the search engine optimization of making credits SWTOR and leave it at that. So to kick it off, the don'ts of making credits, which applies to the news that we heard this week and things going on right now in the game. Don't exploit. Okay? Exploiting is bad. Okay? They're cracking down harder and harder. They get good positive vibes from the community when they do crack down on exploiters, and they're trying to get better and better at doing it. It's also does bad things for the rest of the players. It hurts the game. It hurts the gaming experience for everyone else. It makes the players that aren't exploiting have a bad time with the things that they're trying to do to make credits and the way they're interacting with the market. And it just makes everybody frustrated because the people who cheat get rewards and the people who don't, and that doesn't feel very good. Now, a lot of that is getting hit hard with the suspensions and the bans and the reversals and the taking away all the credits and influence. So it's certainly not seeming to be very worthwhile this time around.
Just remember, everything that you do that has to do with items, currencies, credits, it's all logged somewhere. And BioWare, it's just a matter of what, how fast and how much effort they want to put into finding it. So it's yeah.
And they said they're going pretty far this time in terms of even chasing down other accounts that credits were transferred to or items were transferred to, et cetera, et cetera. So keep an eye out. And avoid it when you can. If it's confusing or if it seems like a problem, I would avoid it. There's plenty of other ways to be doing stuff in the game, which we'll talk about. Second thing I wanted to say as a don't, which applies to most MMOs, is I would really avoid buying credits from credit sellers, real money credit sellers. The biggest problem there is not only is it against terms of service and you can get banned for doing that, but it is particularly bad for all MMO communities in that it provides a strong incentive for hacking and theft in particular. So even though it seems relatively harmless, I'm just going to pay $10 for my 1 million Republic credits or whatever. Hacks and theft are strongly incented to these gold farmers who are trying to get into people's accounts and take all of their credits whenever they can, and take advantage of things like exploits and take advantage of scamming people out of their credits because there's real money involved. No reason to do it, especially no reason in Star Wars. There are ways to legitimately trade real money for credits, and we'll talk about that in terms of cartel market, for example. So no need to be doing that. It is certainly a detrimental impact to lots of players by encouraging and promoting that by participating. That's all I'll say on that. No need to get too deep into that. We can get down to the fun parts of how do you make credits, and it is pretty easy in Star Wars. So we're going to go over some direct ways, just that there's credits laying on the ground that you can pick up. We're going to go over some indirect ways of picking up things off the ground that you can convert to credits relatively easily. We're going to go over industry, both crafting and the market as part of sort of industry and marketing. We're going to go over a little bit of cartel market and how that works. and a tiny bit on services and sort of marketing services for credits. But let's kick it off with direct. No reason you can't just be running around doing things that reward you credits directly. So weeklies, missions, repeatable missions, doing operations, getting credits that are dropping off of bosses, farming mobs, PvP. Every round of PvP that you do has a reward of credits at the end. GSF, same thing. There are credits just out there to be had. So I don't see any problem. And I guess if you want to include in the direct category, slicing and chests. There are credits virtually laying on the ground that you can, with slicing, you can go and pick up. So that's certainly a way to do it. Now, I actually take that back. Chests no longer have credits in it, so I did take it out of this category. You used to use chests to get credits, right, Seema?
Right. If you came across them when they were not being actively, farmed, yes, that was a fun thing. But yeah, anymore they just have mats in them.
Right, which are still valuable. And we'll talk about that. So that gets more to the indirect. So by indirect, I mean you're going to do something or pick up something that you're going to have to sell to a vendor or sell to another player or sell on the GTN to convert them to credits. And it's probably pretty obvious here. Gathering in the open world, going around with a gathering skill like biochem or archaeology or scavenging or slicing, going to various zones and one of the key zones that you can go to and that everyone loves, and here's sort of a secret if you don't know about it, is Yavin. Do you still go? Anytime I need mats, I go to Yavin. Still, Seema. I don't know if you still do, but if I need archaeology or even archaeology or scavenging in particular, I'm always going to Yavin.
I would too. I haven't needed mats yet. I haven't used up what I amassed when I used to be doing dailies all the time there.
Right. So you could do a couple loops on Yavin, especially if you have archaeology or scavenging, even biochem. Kill the strongs and elites for biochem and scavenging. If you have slicing, Yavin is awesome just for slicing. There's credit boxes all over the place. You can get a ton of materials in the open world. You can get them a lot to other places too, but Yavin 4 continues to be a great place. There are chests all over the place, and yes, they no longer contain credits, but you can get crafting materials out of them, as well as, I don't know if you guys remember the crafting materials in your stronghold. Those are still, especially if you have a bunch of characters and you're logging your characters periodically, I either look for an expensive mat and I just hit those nodes. I'll move one to like the place right by the entrance to my stronghold and just click it every once in a while. Or I'll put one of the slicing nodes and I'll just get some free credits.
I had forgotten about that, but that's what I did is finally in the end was I did the highest level slicing node.
Mm-hmm. I have the whole set of slicing nodes from those crafting boxes. If you don't have these nodes for your strongholds, they're decorations, and they come from completing your weekly personal conquest reward, and an additional one if your guild completes it makes the top 10 on the board. You get an item that you can open that has 3 of these nodes in it. You'll get repeats, you'll get duplicates. But eventually you can get a whole variety of the different gathering nodes. So that's that. Chests, they no longer contain credits directly, but they do contain crafting materials. You can also use crew missions to gather crafting materials. Be careful of the profitability of the crew missions. And this will be a theme that we'll touch on a bunch of these topics, is profitability. If you take slicing, for example, the rank 8 slicing missions. Let me see if... Oh, I don't have slicing on this character. How can I not have slicing? The top level slicing missions. There are 2 slicing missions that are profitable No, so the slicing, any of the slicing missions are only profitable if they crit. If they do not crit, they are not profitable. And any of the tech parts slicing missions besides disassembly required and Forsaken Handshake are not profitable. You will be paying more in credits to run those missions than you will ever get back, even if they crit, because you're only getting biocell cores or whatever they're called, and those basically are down at vendor cost right now. On even if you try to sell them on the market, maybe a little bit more. Regular slicing missions, the non tech part missions, if they crit and you get a mission, one of the purple mission items back, and you run that mission item or you sell that mission item on the market, you can still make a profit. But be careful, otherwise you won't be making a profit. Same goes true for you just keeping an eye on how much you're paying to run the mission and what you're getting back in materials typically, and what the delta is between the mission cost, the time you're spending, and the materials you're getting back.
Do you sell
Go ahead.
all the missions that you get, or do you vendor some of them? I mean, are they all profitable?
The purple missions?
The missions, yeah.
They all are typically profitable. Even so, the least profitable is investigation, but even investigation, especially lately at rank 8, is still profitable. I run them all, but even if you don't run them, putting them on the GTN is still typically okay.
Okay.
But still, keep an eye out, check on it. That's one of the things I track in my master spreadsheet of all of the everythings. Operations materials, there's another place to gather things. You could be gathering the dark matter catalysts from operations, exotic isotope stabilizers. So there's the crafting mats that drop from operations. Flashpoints will also drop things like decorations, which you can sell from time to time. Conquest is the other way. We talked a little bit about Conquest, and I have some pictures of the Conquest stuff. Conquest drops both the major crafting material, which is the strategic resource matrix, if you meet your personal Conquest target. You'll also get those 3 Jawa junk tokens. Those Jawa junk tokens you can turn in the Cartel Bazaar. You can also get replicas of those 3 little Jawa vendors and put them in your stronghold by turning in prefabs up in the fleet. But you can go down to the Cartel Bazaar, you can go to those 3 little Jawas, and you can turn in that Jawa junk for green, blue, and purple mats. That's another good opportunity to check out how many materials you need to turn in for each of what you're trying to get, and make sure you're getting the most profitable item if you're trying to convert that stuff into credits. So I would particularly keep an eye on adaptive circuitry and things like beryllius. Usually adaptive circuitry is going to be your most profitable item to be turning in the purple Jawa junk, for example. Do you see? I still just have stacks of Jawa junk. I don't know why. I hoard the Jawa junk rather than turning it in. Have you been turning in much Jawa junk lately, Seema?
I did turn a bunch in, but I've been hoarding them since. I can't remember what I turned them in for back in. Oh, I think I was making dark projects or something. Back in the day, but yes, I haven't actually spent any since this came out, because I keep. Really, the only purple mat I've been using at all is the slicing one, and now that I have Koth at level 50 influence, he runs that mission that you were talking about in 6 minutes.
Yeah. Disassembly required or Forsaken Handshake?
Yeah. I just run disassembly required.
Disassembly required.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a good source of those materials. So.
And I have my Scorpio at like 20 some influence, and if I'm running around with Koth fighting things, because I use him if I'm fighting too, because of his influence, then she runs them. And she does respectable too.
So I do have stacks of. So I have almost a full stack of the purple Jawa junk. I think I might even have some on another character. I have like 2 stacks of the blue. Yeah, I moved some of this around for some reason.
What I do have is a crap ton of the little spheres you get from personal reward from conquest that you open up and inside are the crafting nodes.
Yep.
Because I got all the crafting nodes, and I have this like bizarre, dreamy thought that one day they'll add more mats in,
Oh,
and so then I'll open them up.
you want the new
So I'm
nodes?
just, yeah.
Yes, which they have not
I don't think
added.
I don't think it's gonna work.
That's
But
not a bad plan. It's not like you need more of those. It's not like you need duplicates of all of those nodes.
right, that's right.
If you complete your weekly conquest, either your personal target or your personal target plus your guild making the top 10, you also get a credit token. Your personal target gives you a 25,000 credit token, and your guild reaching the top 10 will give you an additional 50,000 credit token. That's another thing. I just collecting the tokens. I don't know why. I have 14 of the 25,000 credit tokens sitting in,
Yeah,
in my
there's
inventory.
no good reason for not just turning those in right away that I know of.
But they're a thing to be hoarded.
It's so satisfying to get rid of the thing though, and you get the inventory slot and you get credits.
Yes. So keep an eye out for that, hitting your target. It also gives you what's the going rate on the strategic resource matrix. Let's check that out real quick. This makes for good radio. Let me look it up now. So 400k is what they're going. 400, 420, 450. 450,000 for strategic resource matrix. So if you hit your personal conquest target, which this week was only 20,000 points on a single character, right as soon as you hit the target, you get a strategic resource matrix. As soon as you hit the target on any character, and you can do it on all of your characters. So there's another 400k. Not bad.
Yeah.
Let's see. Events. I wanted to throw events in. Events is an opportunity to make some credits. There are a bunch of items that only come from events that can be sold on the GTN. Even Life Day, for example. I sold plenty of the trees that you were able to collect last year, the tree decorations that you were able to collect last year on Life Day as a stronghold decoration. They look like this. And I got a bunch of those. I got a bunch of the snowballs. I got snow-covered parcels. I bought some extra things that I could put on the GTN over time. Some of them I waited until after Life Day was over and put them out. But you can do the same thing with some of the things from the Gree event and some of the things from Rakghoul. And so that's something you're going to want to keep an eye on, like the Racklings, for example. Those tend to be able to be sold on the GTN or traded with other players. So keep an eye out on what's going on within those events that you might be able to convert to credits. Also, a key is understanding what commendations and crystals are able to provide you. So they are currencies in and of themselves. Commendations for PvP can be converted to some decorations, which I'll show in just a second. But common crystals, glowing crystals, and even the ultimate crystals, whatever they're called. Radiant. Common, glowing, and radiant. Common, you can definitely convert it directly to sellable, liquidatable items. In particular, if you go to the vendor on Odessen, the smuggler vendor on Odessen, you can pick up the grade 6 companion influence gifts, and those sell pretty well on the GTN. You can also buy the boxes, the supply crates, and especially if you need supply crates for your commanders in your Odessen base, if you buy those supply crates with common crystals, you have an opportunity to get a gift out of the supply crate when you turn it into your commander. So that's it. They cost slightly more than just buying the gift outright, but it's not a bad opportunity to both get the influence you wanted on one of your commanders and then get the opportunity to get the supply crate, to get the gift out of the supply crate. Glowing crystals, you cannot turn them in for too much stuff, but you can turn them in to that same smuggler vendor for exotic isotope stabilizers and then sell those exotic isotope stabilizers on the GTN. There are vendors on the fleet also. I think I have a screenshot of them. There's a vendor on the fleet over by the stronghold, the place where you can unlock your strongholds the first time, that do sell decorations for common and for glowing crystals. It's either common crystals or common plus glowing or common plus glowing plus radiant. So if you see here, you can turn in, say, 50 or 150 and get some unique decorations. These decorations, these decorations are legacy bound. I don't think you can sell these. I take it back. So you can't convert this to credits this way. So I guess it's just that smuggler vendor, or just buying gear off the gear vendors for common, glowing, or radiant, waiting till the timer is up, and then vendoring that piece of gear. And it's not insignificant, the cost of that gear. Even if you take the mods out. So in my inventory here, I have an empty shell that I took all the mods out for this Ultimate Exarch Eliminator's body armor. I ripped all the mods out, and the shell is still worth, I think, 10,000 credits on a vendor. So,
yep,
that's not a bad way to get some credits as well. Yeah, 10,200 credits for the empty shell for that Ultimate Exarch Eliminator's body armor, which, because it has a cape, should be vendored because no capes. Any other ways that you dump credits and turn credits in, or dump crystals and turn crystals into credits, Seema? I think that was all I could think of.
Yeah, no, you mentioned the last thing, which is to buy something, let it expire, and then vendor. And the reason you have to let it expire is because if you sell it back, you'll just get your comms back.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
So you have to wait for that timer to be up.
One thing I'll mention about all these things, if you're sitting there thinking, well, 10,000 credits, that's no big deal. I just want to urge you to think about how much you really want to, in terms of credits, to be happy in this game, and not let anybody else's amount of credits really influence your decision. If you want enough credits to comfortably always be able to do repairs and raids, that's different than if you are actively playing the metagame of playing the market and making millions of credits. So, and then there's everything in between. So just go with what you're happy with. If you want to be able to buy the occasional speeder when it comes up, then maybe you do want a few 100,000 credits. So,
oh, Seema, weren't you
all
listening?
Adds up.
Greed is good. Greed works.
Don't listen to him.
Yeah.
And if you want to run heroics like we were talking about, the credits that you get for one heroic is like 15 to 20. Let's say it's 15K. If you do the associated bonus with it, which usually has a kill count on it, like kill 10, 20 of this or 10 of that or whatever, that's another 12 or 16, or some of them are 25 or 27K. Right there, that's like 6 or 7 wipes worth of credits if you're a raider. So it's worth it. It's worth doing that stuff. Don't poo-poo it.
And to be clear, if you're not wiping, if you're doing the easier content, operations are a profit. Just doing the operation, the credits that are coming off of mobs and the credits that are coming off of bosses are a profit.
If you want to put in the effort to get your personal reward for conquest, then that's some serious cash, that 400K for the crafting mat you get there. But don't poo-poo the 10,000 and the 20,000.
I also wanted to give a couple examples of Warzone commendations. There's a couple ways to convert those to credits. One is if you're just buying Warzone med packs and Warzone adrenals with the commendations, you can sell those. I don't think you can put them on the GTN, but players will buy those directly. Those are useful and needed in PvP. Sometimes it's difficult to sell them because you do need to take some time to track down buyers. The other place that you can pick up items that can be sold is off of the PvP vendor down on the fleet. And I have a couple examples here. You can buy things like for 2,000 Warzone commendations, you can buy the custom hut ball stand. Then you can take that custom hut ball stand and put it on the GTN, or find a buyer on fleet that wants to buy. Maybe they're not a PvPer and they want a custom hut ball stand. I sold one of these. It took me a while. It took me a couple weeks of listing it, maybe 3 or 4 times listing it on the GTN, but I sold one for 1 million credits today.
Nice.
Or yesterday, and I got the credits today. So there's 2,000 PvP Warzone comms, sold it for 1 million credits. You can also find a couple of, you can find a bunch of really, really cool stuff for Warzone commendations. So if you know someone who PvPs and you don't, and you want one of these items, do a little credit trade and get them some credits for their Warzone comms. The Void Star bomb is pretty cool. The fighter jet models that you can buy are pretty cool, and all of those are something. I did not know
about
the chat room
that.
reminds me, and you're right. I guess I did find that out. The Warzone adrenals and med packs can now be sold on the GTN, which will help liquidate that market. Help get you some credits more easily off of those. Let's see. And the only other thing was on the mission drops. Just make sure that there's 2 ways to deal with the mission drops. One is you running slicing, you crit on a slicing grade 8, crit on any slicing mission, get a mission drop. You can just sell those mission drops, and those mission drops can get you a lot of money just selling the mission drop itself on the market. The other way you can make money off of those is running the mission on a character that you have that crew skill on, say slicing, for example, and then selling the results of that mission. You're guaranteed to be getting the purple mission mats if you run one of those wealthy mission drops. In the same way, you can look at the cost of those missions on the GTN and potentially be making a profit just by buying the missions off the GTN and running it. Usually the profit margin will be much smaller, but often there will be a profit by just running those missions off of the GTN. With all of that, with anything that you put on the GTN, either putting any of these, now we've only been talking about this indirect, gathering stuff up and maybe just putting this stuff on the GTN, you need to figure in a 6% cut of the GTN into any profit margin that you're making. Anything you sell on the GTN takes a 6% cut of your profits and then gives you the remaining credits back. So you're only getting 94% of the cost that you list the thing for. So the second thing you should keep an eye on is, what is the vendor price for the item that you're listing on the GTN? People do this all the time, especially with some of the blue mission materials like biocell memory cores, like the blue, like Havad. Is that the blue material that comes out of investigation missions? I think it's Havad.
Yeah, or whatever it is, yeah.
So they'll be running a lot because they're trying to get the purple mission materials, for example. So here's my spreadsheet. So Havad is the blue because everybody's trying to get, maybe they're trying to get adaptive circuitry, so they have a ton of biocell memory cores. Biocell memory cores then on the GTN, maybe they're going for 300 credits, but as people run more and more to try to get more adaptive circuitry, the prices drop and drop and drop. People then end up just looking at the GTN, dumping them on the GTN, and undercutting what the lowest price is out there. If you're not also keeping an eye on what the vendor price is, you're going to undercut and put it out there for lower than vendor price. And even if you match vendor price and throw it on the GTN, remember 6% cut of the GTN, taking that out of your profits, you're actually getting less money by listing it at vendor price on the GTN. So Don't do it unless you're running a charity. On my spreadsheet, I have a column for the the key materials that I'm typically tracking on a regular basis that tells me what the vendor price is. So as I'm looking and keeping track of the vendor price, I'm also keeping track of the GTN price next to it, and I can list and make sure I know what the vendor price is at all times. So Seema,
I just want to clarify that you do not have to have a spreadsheet to sell things on the GTN.
it is useful.
If your eyes are rolling back in your head right now, you can still make enough money to be happy without having a spreadsheet.
And if you're specializing, you'll know this stuff offhand. If you're mostly just doing biochem, bioanalysis, and you're picking up the bioanalysis stuff off the ground and you're putting it on the market, you'll know what so bioanalysis, you'll know it's 85 credits is the vendor cost. None of the rank 8 materials from bioanalysis ever gets down to vendor price, so you don't have to worry about that. You'll know in general what it costs on the market, so won't get scammed by accidentally putting something there for way too low of a cost. You'll be fine. So if you're specializing, it's not a problem. It's when you're spread across lots of different disciplines, lots of different grafting materials, lots of different, like here, let me show you my prefabs spreadsheet. So prefabs of all the different kinds, ranks 1, 2, and 3, industrial, synthetic, and synthetic combined to make universal prefabs, and then the fabricator crystals and designs, which are used to make the dark projects, can be made with the ranks 2 through 8 of the blue and purple crafting materials. And that's a lot of stuff. So
Yeah, no, it is. I did make a spreadsheet when I was interested in making those things for sure.
Prefabs you can convert to decorations, and you can sell the decorations typically for even a little more profit than just selling the prefab itself on the GTN. But in order to figure out what the most profitable materials are to be using to make the prefab, you're going to want to be looking across the professions which gain those materials. Otherwise, you may just not be the most profitable, and that's okay. That's okay but you certainly want to be careful not to take something like universal prefabs, for example. Universal prefabs, it's more profitable, as you can see here, although my costs might be out of date. To sell the industrial and synthetic prefabs that go into making the universal prefab, it's more profitable to sell those and not make the universal prefab, for example.
Right.
It's certainly not worth it to buy industrial and synthetic prefabs off the GTN and make a universal prefab and then sell that on the GTN. You'll lose credits. So just watch it as you go through that kind of stuff, and you'll be fine. Which leads this, so we're bleeding into this topic of industry, of crafting, of taking those materials that you've collected, and instead of just selling them directly on the GTN, of going off and crafting something with them. And crafting can oftentimes, of those materials that you've collected, make an additional profit rather than just selling the material on the GTN. So you do some crafting for profit, don't you, Seema?
I do. I'm very irregular about it, but yes, I do.
So what's...
Like when we first started, when this X-Pack first started, I sold augments, and now I probably would not sell anything more exciting than augment kits.
Augment kits are typically pretty good. I still do augments pretty regularly.
Yes, and I would not argue against doing augment kits. It's just too much work for me. I would rather go and run heroics, even though it's not the same money amount, than log in and log out all my characters and do crafting on each one. I just don't want to do that.
Have you ever made dyes? So
I have.
And
yes.
Did you find those to be profitable? I've heard that they can be.
Yes, they can be, and even color crystals can be too. But that is an example where you do have to study the market. You have to know, like where dyes become profitable. Like Bill was saying on UtiniCast, is where the die is a die that's not learnable from the trainer, but instead you get it because you have rep with Voss or you have rep with Section X. So
Good
people who
point.
haven't gone to the effort of getting that rep and they can't make the die themselves, and some of them are nice looking dies. So that is a possibility.
So if you have a crafting skill and you'd like to try to make credits off of that crafting skill, you can make a lot of credits off of many of the crafting skills just by finding the niche within your crafting skill. So dyes, crystals, even weapons, even armor sets. Finding the unique niches where people want the thing that's being crafted and you have the materials to make that thing. If you look at the high-end materials right now, the strategic, the dark matter catalysts, so you're making things that use the operations mat or the what's the one you get? The strategic resource matrix is what you get from Conquest. There are ways to turn those into even more profit. So I said strategic resource matrix is about 450K. You can make weapons, you can make armor with that strategic resource matrix and turn that into an additional profit over that 450K. You can get sometimes even doubling the amount of profit you could be getting. You could get it like 800K's worth of credits for each of the strategic resource matrix. So you're going to want to look at those as an opportunity. You're going to want to look for those niches in the market. I have not done it, but I heard, especially at the high end, that some of those purple weapons and barrels and even just the straight up weapon that you can go to the trainer, get the schematic, make the blue version, make the purple 208 version, reverse engineer it, make the purple 216 version or the 220 version, and sell those on the market, you can make a lot of credits.
Yeah, yeah, but you have to be. This comes under the heading to me of high risk, high reward, right? So you're risking a lot of credits by not selling your expensive mats to make those things and hope that someone's going to buy your piece of armor.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes if you either work ahead and make a lot of times, a lot of the crafters that are making barrels, for example, they'll make one, and then what they'll do on the fleet is they'll tell people, I will trade you for free your materials that go into making this barrel, and trade you the barrel. And I've got one in inventory. Come give me your materials. I'll trade you the barrel right now for free. The reason they're doing that with barrels, for example, is that if you craft a barrel and you crit, and remember, if you've got a level 50 influence companion, it's 25% crit rate. If you crit, then you get 2 barrels. That's not the way it works with armor, for example, or weapons. You're only, when you crit, you're getting an augment slot on them, which make them slightly more valuable, but not double. So if you crit and you get 2 barrels, then you take one of the barrels, you keep it in your inventory. So you trade it for mats on the fleet again. You take the other barrel, you put it on the GTN for profit.
Yes.
So that is a thing to do.
That's if you enjoy the process of, dealing person to person with people, advertising on trade and talking to people and stuff.
Which I do not, because it does take time and effort just to stand around on the fleet. You can make a lot of profit off of it, but that's a lot more effort in trying to spam that on fleet. And I don't like doing it.
It does come down to how you want to spend your time in game.
Yes. And that brings us to the market directly. Using the market as a source of profit. You can buy things off the market, relist them, and sell them for higher. You can buy things when they're low and sell them, wait a week and sell them when they're high. This takes skill in understanding the way the market ebbs and flows in terms of prices of various materials, understanding the materials and items in particular niches of the market. This I would recommend spreadsheets for. And even just riding those waves of buy low, sell high is only one tier of using the market to make profit. The other way you can do it is by gamification on the market itself. If you can control any particular desired asset on the market in terms of being able to buy up all of the supply and relist the entire supply and continue to control the supply and relist it on an asset on the market or a material on the market that is in play, that people are buying, you can make a lot of profit. In Star Wars, it's difficult to completely control the supply. It's not hard to gain more supply. You can't actually control the means of production or the means of supply. You can only control as people listed on the market, and you're gonna have to continue to buy up things that are undercut the price you're trying to control. So it's hard to do, but there are ways to do that, and that's very advanced sort of market gamification. Undercutting is another skill that you can use to make sure that the things that you post on the market are getting bought first. Undercutting is not bad, and it is aggressive, and you are being aggressive against other players that are trying to list their things, and that can be frustrating for them. But that's part of an efficient market as well. If you're undercutting and you're undercutting other people, and then you undercut and they undercut you and you undercut them, and it goes back and forth, that's only positive for the buyer, and it's creating an efficient market by doing that. I'll often even take augments that I've listed, take them off. If I get undercut, I will from time to time take my augments back off the market and put them and relist them right away and undercut the person who undercut me. As I get closer and closer to sort of like a market bottom price of what's actually profitable, I'll either undercut by less and less or get to a point where I won't undercut. And that's market efficiency, and that's fine. Keep in mind that when you take an item off of the GTN and relist it, you lose your deposit. For some items, that deposit is high, and you don't want to be doing that. For other items like augments, the deposit is really low, and it's not, it's perfectly fine to do that. For example, even just the highest rank augments, the deposit for selling it is only 200 credits. And if you're typically selling it for 50,000 credits or 80,000 credits or 100,000 credits, 200 credit deposit for me to take it off and relist it, it's nothing.
Don't confuse the deposit with the GTN's cut.
Correct.
It's two different things.
Right. You get your deposit back if you let your auction expire or if someone buys it. The 6% cut always comes out when someone buys your item. Final categories. What's that, Seema?
I was going to say that's one reason why you may want to sell your big ticket items in trade, because then you don't pay that 6% if you don't sell it on the GTN, but instead you sell it person to person.
Yes, especially the very big ticket items like that rare, that extra rare mount, or that full set of Malgus armor, the full, that you're going to sell for 10 million credits.
Right, because 6% of 10 million is depressing.
Yeah, it's 600,000 credits.
Yeah.
So you're losing that, and the GTN is taking that. Those credits are just disappearing. Nobody gets them. The Huts get them. The cartel market. Couple ways to just sort of wrap it up here. We're getting to the end. The couple ways to make money off of the cartel market. This is a way to take real money dollars and convert it to credits. There are items that sell relatively regularly on the GTN that even things like XP boosts, less now, but they still do sell. You can buy those directly off of the cartel market for credits and list them on the GTN, and in that way be converting real dollars to credits in game. No need
buy them for cartel coins.
Yeah, buy them for cartel coins, but you can buy cartel coins for real dollars.
Yeah, you said buy them with credits. I just wanted
Yeah,
to
sorry.
clarify.
Yeah, so you buy them with cartel coins, which you could have bought with real dollars. So dollars to cartel coins to cartel market items that you list on the GTN, and you get credits. No need to ever go to a third-party credit vendor who's potentially going to be scamming you or stealing from other players or procuring their credits in ways that are against the terms of service, and buying from those services are against the terms of service as well. You can also buy cartel market items that are listed on the GTN today because they're brand new and there's a lot of them out there. Hold on to them for a month and sell those back to people because they're much more rare now. And that's a process called speculation. That's a gamble in terms of trying to understand which items people will still want to buy on a month from now, and which will go up in rarity and which will go up in price. But that's something you can do. You can do the same thing with cartel packs themselves. You can either, with cartel coins or real dollars converted to cartel coins, buy the packs and relist them. However, again, that's a little bit of a gamble of what those are going to be like. Or you can buy cartel packs off the GTN for credits and hold them and sell them when they're more rare and, next month, or open them and hope for a rare item. And that's a little bit of gambling, and sell the items out of the cartel pack for credits on the GTN. So there's lots of little niches you can get into as far as that goes. Now, have you ever tried that, Seema? I actually did try once, buying a hypercrate, opening it, and trying to sell the items out of the hypercrate.
I have done that too. It didn't excite me. I spent a lot of cartel coins buying the hypercrate. It was fun to open because every time I opened one, I thought maybe I'll get for whatever I was looking for that day. But yeah.
Now,
yeah, and a lot of the stuff out of the cartel packs, even though it sells eventually, it's the long sell, and it's not my favorite place to play. That's why I like augments and mats.
It is the long sell, and sometimes you do need to wait a month or 2 months until it's much more rare, but somebody still wants it, and you list it like 5 or 10 times, and someone finally buys it. I bought a hypercrate.
And don't do what I did.
What did you do?
Oh, go ahead. Well, like last year for Life Day, I bought some stuff off the cartel market thinking I would sell it in June.
Yeah.
But now Life Day is coming around again. I'm like, oh,
Oops.
I didn't sell that stuff. Yeah, oops.
And now it's not rare anymore. And, now it's not
Yeah.
June when a collector might have wanted it early. And I could have made
Now
a profit on
it's
it.
going to be June next year.
Now, I bought a cartel market about a month ago or 3 weeks ago for credits off the GTN. Someone wanted to convert cartel coins to credits. They listed a hypercrate on the GTN. I bought the hypercrate for 5 million credits, 5.5 million credits, I think, off the GTN. Opened it all, checked out what I got. In fact, I even made a spreadsheet that tracked all of the things that I got out of that hypercrate, and then I wanted to start selling the stuff out of that hypercrate. I haven't sold very much of it yet. In fact, I think I sold more and haven't even tracked the sell date. But I was going to ensure that, I bought it for 5.69 million credits. I sold one of the items right away for almost 4 million credits. And then I have a couple other, there's a lot of junk that either will never sell or I could sell for low numbers of credits. But it definitely was profitable. It's just long and difficult to get that profit out of it. 2 of the items alone out of the hypercrate were enough to pay for the hypercrate. And then I could actually, which I did, I wanted some of the extra junk out of it because some extra decos that I, like the lightsaber damage on the walls.
Yes.
So fine, I could keep some of it and make a profit on some of the items. Last category, since we're going quite long, but this is I think people are going to find this valuable, is services. So one thing that you could sell is you could sell your time in the game. There's a couple ways that people have definitely done this for large amounts of profit. The high-end raiding guilds who were running nightmare content, especially at the end of 3.0, and people were wanting to tag along with them in places like Nightmare Dread Palace or Nightmare Dread Fortress to get the Wings of Brontes off of Nightmare Brontes. There were nightmare guilds, nightmare raiding guilds, who would take one person along on that run and charge them for the fee of getting their Wings of Brontes off of Nightmare Brontes. Do you remember what they were going for on Jedi Covenant?
No. I just remember it was a lot.
It was at least, it was like 10 to 20 million, I think.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, so 10 to 20 million credits you paid to the guild, to this guild who was going to take you along, and you would get a guaranteed Wings of Brontes.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not worth it, just wasn't worth it for me.
Right, it wasn't worth it for me either, but there were people that were paying for it, and then that's a service. Your guild could then divide up that 20 million credits amongst the 7 people that were providing that service and that their time and effort in the game, and make some credits that way. I've also seen people do things like charge for summons or pulls to the +10 to all stats fleet datacron. I don't really like doing that. We've done it with our guild for free to pull people up there, and it's certainly less profitable now that you only need to do it once because their legacy datacrons are now legacy wide at this point. But that's another service. That kind of service is something you could try to charge for in the game. You could try to charge to run characters through flashpoints or through other operations. I'm not really that I'm not opposed to it. It's something I certainly don't prefer to do myself. And it's something, those kinds of services, something I provide to like guildies certainly for free. But your time is worth money. Time is money, friend. So that is a possible path to go down to make credits as well.
Yep, it's an option.
Okay, we went extra long today, but I think this is valuable information and a service so that you can find all of the various possible ways for you to go and make credits in the game and not have to do the bad things. Don't exploit MK. Instead, use these ways to make credits. So just to wrap it up, yeah. What's? I was
gonna say my parting thought is if you are out there doing heroics, don't run by the low level mats unless you're on Hutta or Korban or something. You would be surprised if some of them sell as much as the highest level mats. So pick them up, put them on the GTN.
So is that your favorite way to make credits then, Seema? Run the right now, running the heroics and getting mats along the way?
Yeah, and running ops and selling the odd augment or stack of augments. Yeah.
I think my preferred for straight up making credits, my preferred way right now is still crafting of augments, but I'm very surprised at the amount of credits I'm just collecting on my bounty hunter, who I don't do any selling on the GTN of anything crafted on. I just
basically just playing the game. Yeah.
I've got like a couple million credits on this guy, and that is just from heroics and PvP and operations. So, profit.
Yes.
All right. So with that, I think we can wrap it up. Extra long, but hopefully good information for all of you. And definitely, if you wanted to see some of the illustrations and screenshots and looks at our spreadsheet, and if you're just listening to this, you can check it out on the YouTube recording of this, and you'll see some of those. Or hit me up, and I'll share some of my spreadsheet secrets with you. But now our EPC 121 droid can pack up and get this podcast out to broadcast. So thanks to all of you for joining us on newoverlords.com or iTunes, or as we said, on YouTube or live on Twitch. We will stream again next Monday night on twitch.tv/newoverlords around 10:30 p.m. Central. Please follow us on Twitter @MaxTheGray and @AIESEMA, or come find us on Jedi Covenant and ask us for a guild invite to our guild on for an AIE guild invite on Jedi Covenant. Missed up
You can say
our
it.
outro there. And we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.